Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. This evening we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this is now we are in Chatushloki Gita. So that is from 10.9 to 10.11, 8 to 11. So today we are taking the verse number 9, 10.9. Machit madgata prana bodha ventas parasparam.
I think we've already done this verse.
Same verse today. Okay. Katayantasya mam nityam Tushyanti cha ramanti cha Maschitta madgata prana Bodhayanta parasparam Katayantasya mam nityam Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Okay, Haribol, would you like to talk? Machita madgata prana bodhayantas parasparam Kathayantasya mam nityam Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Maschitta madgata prana bodhaventa parasparam Kadayantasya mam nityam Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Mataji. Maschitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam Katayantasya mam nityam Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Maschitta madgata prana bodhaventa parasparam Kathayantasya mam nityam Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Machitta, their minds fully engaged in me. Madgata prana, their lives devoted to me. Bodhayanta, preaching. Parasparam, among themselves. Katayantaha, talking. Cha, also. Mam, about me. Nityam, perpetually. Tushyanti, become pleased. Cha, also. Ramanti, enjoy transcendental bliss. Cha, also. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Purport. The pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing Him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them there are few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed. If it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma Jyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Golok Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows and grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 12.13.18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing but material activities, economic development, sense gratification or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized souls in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again the translation. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service. They derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So this is a very important verse among the 4 verses. So we all must be knowing. So these 4 verses, they indicate Sambandha, Abhidya and Prayojan, Gyan of devotional service. So here the theme of this verse is that symptoms of pure devotee. So when you go to a doctor, he knows what are our symptoms of a disease. So here we can, Prabhupada explains that here Krishna explains symptoms of pure devotional service or devotees. So Krishna becomes his life and soul, and he constantly hears about and discusses Krishna. Also Krishna explains thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their life fully devoted to my service. They derive great satisfaction and bliss, always conversing about me. So here is very important. So we should know that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains about this. That he explains, Veda Shastra ka hai sambandha abhideya prayojan, Krishna Krishna bhakti prema tina mahadhana. That means in the Vedic literature, Krishna is the central point of attraction, and his service is our activity. To attain the platform of love of Krishna is life's ultimate goal. Therefore, Krishna's service and love of Krishna are the three great riches of life. So while explaining to Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains that these three and the purposes of Veda is that to understand the relationship with Krishna. That is called Sambandha Gyan. Then after that, our relationship, it is called Abhidya Gyan. And third is to reach the ultimate goal, that is Prayojana. Prabhupada explains the word Prayojana means necessities. And the ultimate necessity is explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prema Pumartu Mahan. That is the ultimate love of Godhead. The greatest necessity of human being is achievement of love of Godhead. So here what we understand, that these three things we should understand, that Sambandha, Abhidya and Prayojan. So Prabhupada gives a very nice analogy. So actually in one song, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he sings Jaya Radhe, Jaya Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath, Madan Mohan. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains these three deities are Vrindavan, Madan Mohan, Govindji and Gopinath. So Madan Mohan is the deity Sambandha Vigraha, and our Acharya is Sanatana Goswami. So in material world, the first is Sambandha, relationship. So Prabhupada analogy, Prabhupada explains, like when a boy and girl, when they are married, so their relationship changes to husband and wife. Previously they are boy and girl. So when they are married, they are husband and wife. That is called Sambandha, Sambandha Gyan. So then Abhidya means, so the wife has to serve the husband. The husband has to do his work, job, everything. So the wife serves the husband, that is called Abhidya Gyan. And Prayojana, ultimately every woman, Prabhupada explains, she wants one child. So Prayojana means it is a later on, it fructifies, a child will come after a few years. So in our devotional service, Madan Mohan, in devotional service, so Madan Mohan, he takes out all our anarthas. So when we come to devotional service, we have many anarthas. So gradually when these anarthas, they are taken out, so then we start doing our sadhana bhakti. So Govindji, in Vrindavan what we see, so all the festivals, they are connected with Radha Govindji. Radha Govind Jhulan Yatra, they name by Govindjis. So here it is a Sambandha. After that Abhidya means doing the service to the Lord. Like we have Jhulan Yatra, so many festivals in Vrindavan. So you will find the maximum number of festivals they take place in Vrindavan. Now the Holi will start. It goes on for 40 days. And of course Kartik is there. Then thereafter again this Katyayani Vrat. Then this year there is a Adhik Mas. It is mentioned in the month of Adhik Mas, if you live in Vrindavan, you get 1000 times benefit of compared to Kartik. So it is seen every fourth year, a lot many people come to Vrindavan, especially during the month of Adhik Mas. So then after Sambandha Abhidya, Prayojan. Prayojan means the attainment. So our attainment is Gopinath, the master of the gopis. So these are the three deities in our devotional service. And gradually when we come to devotional service, so after some, here Prabhupada further explains, in mature stage, the devotee in contact with the Lord, he is gradually fixed in devotional service. So we should know that what we see in today's world, totally it is reverse. What here it is explained about the Sambandha Gyan. So material world, what we see, people, they are absorbed in mundane talks. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 2.69, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyaham jagrat samei, Ya nisha, yashaham jagrati bhutanam sa nisha pashyato mune. That means, what is night for all living beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. And the time of awakening for all being is night for the introspective stage. Now we see in today's material world, especially Kali Yuga, people, their life starts in the evening. You will see people going for parties, clubs, movies. They go to bed late night, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, early morning. If you see New Year celebration, people, early morning they come to their home just to go to the bed. But for a devotee, it is not, it is the other way. So material world, what we see, people, also in Bhagavatam, Sukdev Goswami, he explains to Parikshit Maharaj that Shrotha Vyadini Rajendra Nirnanam Shanti Sahasrasha Apashatam Atma Tattam Griheshu Grihamedinam. So what he explains in the material world, those who are fully engrossed in material activities, blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society. So now what are the subject matters for hearing and tasting? So I have made a small list. So it begins, in the olden days there was a TV, before that there was a radio, then there is internet, nowadays mobile, nightclubs, then games, parties, stock market, super malls, gambling, golf, horse race, theaters, cinemas, newspapers, magazines, hotels. So people go all these places, there they release all their material activities. So like we have our Mahajans, in Bhagavatam we have our 12 Mahajans, and material world, Prabhupada also writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita that for mundane people, who are their Mahajans? They are businessmen, scientists, philosophers, writers, politicians, film stars, sports stars, and nowadays there are cheap gurus who tell, okay, you do whatever you like, give my money. So these are their Mahajans. So but for here what we see, for a devotee who is absorbed in devotional service, in the second stage, after Sambandha Abhidya. Abhidya means, now here this verse explains exclusively, Krishna explains the symptoms of the devotees, how a devotee is acting, how he is conversing with each others, how they take pleasure. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains about the devotees. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataeva Shant Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashant. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam, he is living for Krishna. Like Baldev Vidyabhushan, he writes that the devotees, he does everything for the pleasure of the Lord, not for other demigods. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Goswami explains, because devotees of the Lord are desireless, he is peaceful. Frutu workers desire material enjoyment, Gyanis desire liberation, and yogis desire material opulence. Therefore, they are all lusty and cannot be peaceful. This is the status of the material world. So now we see this same verse, similar verse Krishna explained in two verses in 9.13 and 14. So anyone just can recall what are the verses? So what here the devotees they do, Krishna has explained in 9.13 and 14. You can go to 9. We'll read these two verses so we can understand what Krishna is explaining again here. The same thing he told in 13 and 14. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashita bhajanya ananya manaso gyatva mam bhutadim avyayam. So similar what we see here, Krishna explains, O son of Pratha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. In 14, Krishna explains, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. That means, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. This verse, today's verse, and this 13 and 14, they look similar. So here what we can understand, the symptoms of a devotee, how they are always absorbed in the thoughts, everything they are doing for the Krishna's pleasure. So we have the gopis of Vrindavan, the cowherd boys, also we have Narad Muni, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So in one sense, if we see, the symptom is their way of life, their everyday life, how they are engaged. it is mentioned that a person is known by the company he keeps. So here the symptoms means the absorption, a devotee how he is absorbed in his daily activities from morning until night. So there is a nice reference of Ambrish Maharaj in the 9th canto 9.4. In the 9th canto it is mentioned that Ambrish Maharaj, all his activities, they were devoted to the Lord's pleasure. Savai Mana Krishna Padar Vindayor Vachansi Vaikunta Gunanu Varane. So this way all his activities, first of all the mind, Savai Mana Krishna Padar Vindayor. So always he put his mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunanu Varane. So he used to glorify the Lord of Vaikunta. Then he used to go to the temple, he used to clean the temple, he used to taste the tulsi offered to the Lord. This way there are 11 activities mentioned altogether. Then he used to do whatever is the will of the Lord. Ultimately it is mentioned that he did everything only for the pleasure of the Lord. So we can give so many examples. Even the 6 Goswamis, what we see, Radha Damodar temple is the hub of Vrindavan, and there the 6 Goswamis always they used to come together and they used to discuss about the different pastimes of the Lord, and this way they were conversing among themselves about the different literatures and pastimes of the Lord, and they revealed complete Vrindavan. So this way we can see that for devotees, those who are in the higher stage of devotional service, so their thought, they are always absorbed in serving the Lord some way or the other. So there is one person, there is one life history of one Vaishnava saint who came to Vrindavan. Actually he was a Muslim. So it is mentioned that one time few Brajavasis, about 300 years back, they went to Delhi. So in olden time also Brajavasis, they used to do this thing, Bhagavad Katha. So some Brajavasis, they went to Delhi. That time Muslims, they were ruling there, and they were doing Bhagavad Katha for some Hindus. And one Muslim person, he was always curious to come and hear what these people are speaking. And this guy, he was a little eunuch type, and he was serving one kid in such a way, he was doing everything for the kid. So one Brajavasi, one day he commented, such a foolish guy, if he could serve Lord in such a manner, this fellow could have been delivered. So he heard that statement and he was curious to know who was that person I should serve. So he asked that Brajavasi, whom you are telling, who is that person? So he said, that person is Gopalji. He is in Vrindavan. So then that person, he came all the way to Vrindavan and he was asking everyone, who is this Gopalji? I want to see. And because people, they knew this guy is a Muslim guy, not fit to see Gopalji. So he was wandering all the places. So ultimately he came to know that Gopalji stays at Govardhan, hilltop, there. So he came to Govardhan and he was staying at that Govindkund. So what happened that time, Vallabhacharya's 2 sons, Gopal and Vallabh, his name is Vitthal. So they were serving Gopal at Govardhan hilltop. So the day Ras Khan, his name was Ras Khan, he was a Muslim person, his samadhi is there in this Gokul. So what happened, one day Gopalji in the middle of the night, he told Vithalnath that my devotee has come, he is sitting at Govindkund, please go and get him and give my darshan to him. So this Vithalnath, he woke up the deities, he opened the temple, he went to see who is that person. And he saw there is a Muslim person and he thought he is not worthy to come and take the darshan. And he told the Lord, he is a Muslim person, how he can come and take darshan. So Krishna, Gopalji told, no, I want to give him special darshan. So then with due regard, he went there and he told him that Gopalji wants to see you. So he came and he just stood there and he was mesmerized seeing the Gopalji's deities. So he took darshan for some time, then he went away. And after that he didn't leave Vrindavan. So he used to go all the places around Vrindavan. And he got such highly elevated in a short period of time. So he used to see Krishna's pastimes. Like now the Krishna's pastimes which are going in Vrindavan, so they are unmanifest. Means we can't see with our mundane eyes. because we are not that much elevated. We are not that much elevated in devotional service. So this Ras Khan, he has written nice poems about Lord Krishna's and doing his different leelas. So he explains now Krishna, he's taking the cows, he's herding the cows, and now Krishna, he's playing with the gopis, breaking their mud pots. So whereas he never heard this Bhagavatam, or he never heard or read Srimad Bhagavatam, but he got such a elevated this thing in devotional service, he could literally see the unmanifest pastimes of the Lord, which are going on eternally. So he could see how Krishna is enacting his pastime. So he explains the gopis of Vrindavan, they are the highly elevated devotees. What he explains, that these gopis, after getting up in the morning, so they start glorifying Krishna, they do all their household work, then they milk the cow, then they put the cow dung patties, then they clean the home, then they go to Yamuna, and there they wash their cloth, then they go to the market, buy vegetables, they come home, then they cook food for the Lord, and they offer prasad to the Lord. So in all these activities, they are always absorbed in glorifying the Lord. So he explains that these gopis, they are the highest, because they are machit madgata prana bodhaventam. What here Krishna explains, they are always absorbed in discussing the pastimes of the Lord. So this is what we see here. Krishna explains, because I am seated in the heart of the devotees, and the devotees, they are in my heart. Also in Durvas Muni's case, what Lord Vishnu told Durvas Muni, very nice verse. He explains Sadhava Hridayam Mayam. This similar here, this one statement comes, one sentence comes. Krishna explains that I am seated in their heart. So here Lord Vishnu tells Durvas Muni, Sadhava Hridayam Mayam, Sadhunam Hridayam Tvam, Mad Anyatan Na Janati, Naham Teva Managapi. So Vishnu explains that I don't know anything other than my devotees, and my devotees, they don't know anything other than myself. So he explains here, it is the translation is that the pure devotees are always within the core of my heart, and I am always in their heart of the pure devotees, and my devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anything else but them. So this verse is also like similar. So here Prabhupada explains in the purport that there are two stages of devotional service. The first is preliminary stage, second is mature stage. So Prabhupada explains, in preliminary stage, they release the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. So service itself means when we are doing various services. What we see, Prabhupada, he engaged the devotees in doing different services. Deity worship, cooking, book distribution, Sankirtan, Harinam. So these are all the in a preliminary stage. When we are in the preliminary stage, so we are supposed to do these all activities for the Lord. So when we develop little ruchi, ado shraddha tata sadhu sangha tata bhajana kriya, then when we come to the stage of ruchi, so Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he further explains in his Madhurya Kadambini, that he explains in the stage of ruchi, he explains that the devotee, he is propelled by the energy of the chanting of the holy name, and the devotee's heart becomes fixed in ruchi for the activities of the Lord. And he explains when he develops further taste for the activities of bhakti, then he enjoys more and more hearing and chanting. And this way he becomes fully situated in devotional service. And he starts studying different scriptures, and he starts conversing with others about the devotional service. This way one gets to the mature stage. So Prabhupada explains, so like one devotee, he explains that practice makes man perfect. There is one saying in English. So similarly, when we come to devotional service, we start doing our devotional service. What we see, so even Prabhupada, he told the devotees, among all the regulatory principles, the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra 16 rounds is most important. Prabhupada, he said, this is most important compared to the other 4 regulatory principles. Prabhupada said, this is most important. So one time I know one Maharaj, he was explaining in Mayapur that if the devotees, if they do their morning 16 rounds very nicely, then there is no chance they will fall down. That means the other thing is taken care of. The 4 regulatory principles, they will automatically follow. So what we see further, Prabhupada, he explains about the Bhakti Lata Bij. In the second part of this, so Prabhupada explains devotional service, he compares to Bhakti Lata Bij. Bhakti Lata Bij, again, it is mentioned, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains about Bhakti Lata Bij. Mali hana kare sei bija aropana, shravana kirtana jale kare shravana and sechana. When a person receives the seed of devotional service, he should take care of it by becoming a gardener and sowing the seed in his heart. If he waters the seed gradually by the process of shravana and kirtan, hearing and chanting, the seed will fructify, sprout. So this comes when in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explains about how the living entities, they are elevated from a lower platform to the highest platform. He explains that there are 84 lakh species of life. Yehi rupe brahmanda bhramite, Prabhupada that quotes that also. Yehi rupe brahmanda bhramite kon bhagyavan jiva. Now you can imagine, in this material world, this earth is so big. There are, in one universe, there are 14 planetary systems. So there are innumerable any planetary systems, not one. Our planet is the smallest because our Brahma is the small, 4-headed Brahma. So there are planets where Brahma 8, 16, 32, 64 like that. So yehi rupe brahmanda bhramite kon bhagyavana jiva, Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata bij. So in material world, what we see, the living entities, they are transmigrating. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one bhajan, he writes, Anadi karma phale, and he explains, Anadi karma phale means that since time immemorial, a living entity, he is migrating in Bhausagar, in different species of life. And ultimately he comes in contact with the spiritual master, and by the grace of the spiritual master, he comes in contact with Krishna. So here Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata bij. So one time some Prabhupada disciples, they were walking with Prabhupada, and they told Prabhupada, say, we are so much fortunate that we came to this devotional service. And what Prabhupada said, I made your fortune. We can understand this is only by the mercy of Prabhupada that we are now somewhat well elevated in devotional service. At least we can understand, yes, what is my position, where am I? So we can at least put on our geographical location, where I am located now. So what Prabhupada said, this, I have made this fortune, and you should be always be careful. You should not deviate. Many times Prabhupada, he said, let anything happen, never leave devotional service. Let anything happen, odd against odd. Prabhupada, he told many times the devotees, one should never leave the devotional service. And this rarity is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. There is a very nice verse when this Nav Yogendras, they came to Nimi Maharaj. So this is one nice verse by Nimi Maharaj. He explains, Durlabha Manushya Janmo Dehinam Kshana Bhangura Tatrapi Durlabham Manne Vaikunta Priya Darshana. So what he explains, that Durlabha Manushya Janmo. Durlabha Manushya Janmo means human life is very rare. It is not that we get easily human life again and again, no. Dehinam Kshana Bhangura. Like this life can end any moment. We don't know when the end is coming. In today's world, we are living in such a Prabhupada explains neck break speed. We are going at a neck break speed, and nowadays so many aeroplanes, they are crashing. We can't say what will happen when. But tatrapi durlabha manne vaikunta priya darshana. That means what Nimi Maharaj explains, like even if we can see in this material world, there are so many countries, hardly a few countries where our Krishna consciousness is going on, and how many devotees are coming in each center, how many are chanting 16 rounds, how many are following regular principle. And to get a devotee, to get the association of devotee, here it is mentioned, Tatrapi durlabham manne Vaikunta priya darshan. What he explains, even to get the association of pure devotees of the Lord, it is very rare, especially in the material world. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that if one waters the seed, Bhakti Lata Beach, so when we come to devotional service, when our spiritual master, he gives us the initiation, so Prabhupada explains that is Bhakti Lata Beach. So that we have to nurture, and here Prabhupada gives a elaborate this thing in purport. He explains. So this Bhakti Lata Beach, gradually what happens, it starts growing, nurturing. So when we water it, that is hearing and chanting. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also explains that among the 9 processes of devotional service, hearing, chanting and meditating, these are the first 3 are very, very important. So this way what happens, the plant, it goes to the spiritual world, Golok Vrindavan, and there it takes the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, and there it fructifies and it bears the fruits and flowers. So that is our stage of Prema Bhakti. So when we come to the Prema Bhakti stage, we never get shaken. When we get in devotional service to the higher stage, let no matter anything happen in spiritual life, anything, we see so many things. So what happens, sometimes we have sudden shocks, so many things, but we never get carried away. We know what is our destiny. So this way what happens, Prabhupada explains, when one is full in absorption, fully absorbed in love of Godhead, one cannot live without the Lord. So Prabhupada gives a nice example of a fish without water. A fish cannot live without water. So this is what we see. The devotee, Prabhupada here compares to a fish. A fish cannot live without water. So there is one nice story of one alvar. There are 9 alvars. If you listen about Sri Sampradaya. So there was one king. His name was Kulashekar Alvar. Also Prabhupada, he liked one of his verse, Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja. So this Alvar, he always used to listen to Ramayana. It was by default every day he will hear Ramayana for 2 hours. This is a very long pastime, but I'll just make it short. So he was so much absorbed in hearing, sometimes he used to enter the pastime of the Lord. So one time what happened, the person who used to narrate the Ramayana, he got sick. His son came that day, and his son started narrating that Sita is being kidnapped by Ravan. So he went just into ecstasy, the king, and he said, Ravana, when I am there, how come you can take Sita? He took his talwar, he boarded the horse, and he just ran, and he told the minister, just follow me. So he went, and he came to near the ocean where Lord Ram entered to go to Lanka. So what he saw, what he felt, I am late. Already Ram, he reached Lanka. So he entered the ocean, and the ocean was so deep, he was just swimming, and after some time he was about to drown. At that same time, the Lord, he manifested from the ocean, Lord Ram. And the Lord Ram, what he told, you are so much absorbed in me that when you are about to leave this world, I'll come myself. I'll come and I'll take you personally to Vaikunta, Ayodhya. And Lord Ram, he gave him the golden deities of Sita, Ram and Lakshman. And he told, just you worship these deities, that is the perfection of your life. So here, what Prabhupada gives the analogy that when a devotee, like even Haridas Thakur, what we see, that he never took prasad before chanting his 3 lakh. 3 lakh. Sometimes we should understand 3 lakh means 192 rounds. For us, 16 rounds are nothing. It is a tip of the iceberg. So further Prabhupada explains, then in the third part Prabhupada explains about the Srimad Bhagavatam. How devotees, they relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Prabhupada quotes a very nice analogy, just like a young girl and boy take pleasure in association. This is another Prabhupada quotes. That Prabhupada quotes Bhagavatam 12.13.10. So in that it is very nicely quoted how the devotees of the Lord, they take pleasure in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I have made a list of all the from Canto 1 to 12. I will not go in depth. I will just read out how devotees conversing among themselves. So from first canto to 12th canto, just I will read out the outline. So the first canto starts with the sages of Naimisharanya. Okay. Then Sud Goswami followed by Shaunak Rishi. Further Sukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. Narad Muni, then Vyasdev. Then Purusha Sukta prayers are there. Then prayers by Brahma for creation. Then Shiva and Parvati, Hamsaguhya prayers. Then conversation between Brahma and Narada. Maitra Rishi and Uddhava. Then again Maitra Rishi and Vidura. Then Lord Matsya and King Satyavrat. Then Narad Muni and Vasudev. Then Narada and Yudhishthira. Further Queen Kunti's prayers, Bhishma Dev's prayers. Then Manu and Kardama. Then Kapil Dev and Dehavati, Narada and Dhruva Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj and the four Kumaras, Lord Shiva and the Prachetas, Narada and King Prachini Bharashit, Swayambhu Manu, then Priyavar, King Rishabdev with his 100 sons, Jada Bharat, then King Rahugana, Vishnu Dutas and Yamdutas, Yamraj and Yamdutas, then Lord Vamandev with Bali Maharaj, King Amrish with Durvas Muni, then prayers by the demigods to the Lord offered, then praise by Akrura, then praise by the Gopis, then Gopi Geet, then there is a Uddhav Geet, then praise by the personified Vedas, and then again Krishna, the King Nimi and Navayogindras, Markanda Rishi and Narnarayan. So these are all what we see. Here it is a big list of the devotees. So Prabhupada explains that the devotees, they are always engaged in conversing about the pastimes of the Lord. And what is Srimad Bhagavatam? That Srimad Bhagavatam is completely, that is a interaction between the Lord and his devotees. So here the Prabhupada, he gives the nice analogy about the young boys and young girls meeting. They take and they enjoy in association. So there is one nice prayer. The prayer explains that Yuvatinam yatha yunim Yunam cha yutau yatha Manobhiramat tadvan Mano me ramyatam toi. One devotee, he prays, just as the minds of young ladies take pleasure in young men, and the minds of young men take pleasure in young women, kindly let my mind take pleasure in you alone. This is what devotee, he prays. So this should be our prayer. So Sridhar Swami, he explains very nicely. What he explains, that when the devotees, they are on the sadhana bhakti and when they come to prem bhakti, so their exclusive loving devotion, that he explains, Machchitta means they are there in the heart, they are completely dedicated to the Lord alone. Sridhar Swami, he explains, and their mind and senses, they are totally directed towards the Lord. Then further he explains, Madgata Prana means they have dedicated their lives to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Then further he explains that they are always relishing the pastimes of the Lord with each other. So then Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, what he explains, that he explains the Ananya Bhakta. In Srimad Bhagavatam also Krishna explains the Ananya Bhakta. Here he explains, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, he explains, they have attained spiritual intelligence, Buddhi Yoga, by the mercy of the Lord. And what he explains, their minds are greedy for my form, name, qualities, pastimes, and their taste sweetens. Machchitta means, he explains, their taste that God gets sweetened. They are unable to maintain their lives without me. Madgata Prana. Without the Lord, they can't maintain the life. Just as men are completely dedicated to food, he gives one analogy. Like some people, they are addicted to some kind of food. Annagata Prana Nara. He gives the analogy that some people, they are addicted to some kind of food, they can't live. Like some drunkards. We have Alcoholic Anonymous Association. Very difficult for such people to get rid of. So some people have their, I seen in ISKCON also, there are some devotees, and they want everyday paneer sabji. They can't live without paneer sabji. Even with 365 days we make paneer sabji, they will not be satisfied. So this is also there among some devotees. Some they have their own choice, taste. So we are on the first platform. So we are Annamaya. We are not on Premamaya. So further he explains that they explain to each other with friendliness about the type of bhakti and the real nature of bhakti, Bodhavanta. So he explains they are always talking about me in the sense Lord, who is like an ocean of sweet form with qualities and pastimes, Kathayanta, and glorify me by narrating about my form, qualities and pastimes. Further he explains, since Smarana, Machchitta, Shravana, Bodhavanta and Kirtana, he explains these are the best among the all type of bhakti. This is what Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains. Actually the 9 types of bhakti are mentioned. Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana, Vandana. So he explains Smarana, then Kirtana and Katha. And this hearing the pastimes of the Lord. These are the best among the 9. So Baldev Vidyabhushan, actually Prabhupada quotes Baldev Vidyabhushan more. So Baldev Vidyabhushan he writes, this was describes the process of bhakti. They are also absorbed in remembering me. That means devotees in the remembrance of the Lord. They cannot maintain their lives without me. Like fish, what Prabhupada gives the example, it is from Baldev Vidyabhushan. Like a fish cannot live without water. Madgata prana. They reveal each other my form. The devotees, what we see, they reveal the others about the Lord's form, qualities and beauty. Bodhavanta parasparam. They speak about me, an ocean of affection for the devotees, about my extremely variegated pastimes. In this way, by worshipping me in the form of remembering, hearing and chanting, they are satisfied. Tushyanti. So what we see, this is the one thing about the devotees. When it comes to devotion service, he becomes satisfied. Like this is our barometer. That this should be our barometer. What is the progress? Like one time, one devotee he was asking one Maharaj, so how we can understand whether we are progressing in devotion service or not? So the Maharaj he was explaining, yes, for measuring everything there is a meter, lactometer, thermometer. So many meters are there. So what he was telling, what is the devotional meter? So he was telling how much you are deviating from sense gratification, how much you are enjoying the company of devotees, how much you are enjoying the narration of the pastimes in reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Also we see during the manifest pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every day he used to go to Gadadhar Pandit at Tota Gopinath, and literally he used to hear only 2 kathas, that is of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj, and he used to tell Gadadhar Pandit again, repeat from the beginning. So what we see, if we just and when a devotee comes to devotional service, so the satisfaction is when he hears about the pastimes of the Lord. So they have the satisfaction. In material world, what we see today, people they are doing so much progress, and we are now at the peak of the technology. Still people are not satisfied. In material world, what we see, people are not content. Also in the Bhagavatam, when Bali Maharaj in his yajna, Vaman Dev he went. So when Bali Maharaj he told Vaman Dev, you ask from me anything, I can give you anything. I am the king of 14 planetary system. So you ask anything. So Vaman Dev he said, give me 3 foot land. Because Vaman Dev was 3 feet, he said, I am 3 feet. 3 feet is enough. So Bali Maharaj he said, your intelligence is too small. If you want, I can get a girl of your size. So why don't you ask? So that time Vaman Dev he quoted a very nice verse. What he told, a person whose senses are not controlled, even if he gets the entire 14 planet, anything, so he will never be content. So what we see when we come to devotional service, we don't feed the snakes with the fangs, teeth. So Prabhupada gives a nice example, like when you feed the snake banana and milk, the snake will never be satisfied. So he will give you the poison only. So similarly, material world, if we are doing anything, if it is not in relationship with Krishna, that will increase our poison more and more. So when we come to devotional service, it is like taking out the teeth of the snake. Snake has only two teeth. So when we take out these fangs, then we have that satisfaction of serving the Lord in all situations of life. So Hare Krishna. So we have about 2 minutes. So today's verse, it explains about abid, sambandha, after sambandha, abidya. And here the Lord explains the symptoms of the devotee, how they engage in his devotional service. So Hare Krishna. So anyone has any comment? Yes, Prabhu.
You have explained about Abhidya in greater detail, what to do. Abhidya means what we are expected to do.
Abhidya means our service, so how we should absorb in
But
devotion.
what about Sambandha?
Sambandha means relation.
We are expected to do anything, or we know we are the servant, we need not do anything regarding Sambandha. Or we are to do something to know the Sambandha.
Like in simple manner, we have 5 kinds of association with the Lord, 5 types of rasa. Shantaras, Dasiras, Sakiras, Vasiliras, Madhuriras, when we come to devotional service. So according to the rasa we serve, that is on a higher level. But because now we are on the platform of devotional service, so we are doing sadhana bhakti. So at present this thing should be that we should follow a regulated life, getting up regularly for Mangala Arati, doing our sadhana and chanting and taking the association of devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So this way, when you get more and more elevated in the sadhana bhakti, that is our sambandha jnana, then gradually you come to know the higher principle. So that is revealed within the heart with the passing of time. Like I gave the analogy, like what Prabhupada says about a boy and girl. Before marriage, they are individuals. After marriage, they are husband and wife. And then the wife, she serves the husband, he does his job. So ultimately, the woman, Prabhupada explains, the girl, she wants a boy. That is the prayojan. So similarly, in our devotional service, what is our prayojan? Lord, I quoted that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains, Prema Pumarto Mahan. That is to come to the highest devotional service. That is the love for the Supreme Lord. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur. Das, 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 anudas. That should be our highest aspiration. In short.
So we are not to do anything for knowing the Sambandha Gyan as per this principle. It will automatically come.
No. I told we have to do sadhana bhakti.
Oh,
Prabhupada here.
That we are doing.
Yeah,
but doing within Abhidya.
Yeah.
Within Abhidya.
Correct. See now.
But for Sambandha, we need not do separately something.
No, not required. Whatever is being told by our acharyas, what Prabhupada here explains in the preliminary stage, a devotee enjoys in doing his service. So it takes time. It may take me for 20 years to go from Sambandha to Abhidya. It depends. It is not that many people, they come to devotional service. It is not that overnight you become a pure devotee. That can't happen. Devotional service is a gradual process. A mango, now this is the month of January, okay? In November, December, January, the flower comes to the mango tree, okay? So now that flower, it has to bear all this winter, It has to fructify. And sometimes there is a gale wind, there is a rain. After this there will be summer, intense summer until May. And when mango, it is holding the tree with all this, seasons changing. So the mango, it has to hold the tree. If it falls down, it is gone. So after Akshaya Tritiya, what happens? The mango, it gets the best sun rays and moon rays. And that way the mango gets completely fructified inside. It gets completely with nice rasa. And when it is touched by the beak of a parrot, it becomes more sweet. So similarly, devotional service, what Prabhupada said, don't be surprised if someone leaves If one staying back, that is yes, he is doing the real devotional service. We have to hold on. We have to hold on. So it is up to us. Like it depends how I am doing my sadhana. On that, I will come to next stage and to the third stage. Otherwise, like many people, they are staying. They are since 40-50 years. They are in ISKCON. They are in their neophyte stage. They are only in neophyte stage. They have not gone to the higher stage. So that also can happen. Like many life members, they say it is my right. I have paid money. I want room. I want prasad. So that is like a neophyte stage. So when we do our bhakti on a regulated manner, then we come to abhidya, then we come to prayojana.
Yeah, what is the difference between the Mahaprabhu's time and this time? Mahaprabhu at the beginning of the deputation of his disciples, he used to say what